Good advice for new Christians. Deuteronomy 7. When Jehovah thy God shall bring you into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and shall cast out many nations before thee, the Hittite, the Girgashite, and the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, the Jebusite, 7 nations greater than thou. So as we become Christians, the Lord will make a way for us and steer us away from potentially bad influences, just like he steered his people away when he gave them the land of Israel. And when Jehovah thy God shall deliver them up before thee, and thou shalt smite them, then thou shalt utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. So as a new Christian, you want to learn God's ways. You want to do things God's ways. And those that don't, or try and get you to do things other than God's ways, you should not covenant with, not make an agreement with. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter shall not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. When you're following the Lord, it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to get distracted into this world and trying to make it yours. In other words, you're trying to be God. When you become a Christian, you give that up. You have come to the conclusion God's ways are best. And so God's saying my ways are best, and this is what you should do in order to keep it that way. So yes, a lot of people marry for love, but if the person's not a Christian, then what the Lord's really trying to do is save you from heartache down the road. And this is what verse 4 is saying, for he will turn thy son away from following me, that he may serve other gods. So will the anger of Jehovah be kindled against you, and he will destroy thee quickly. There are a lot of distractions out there to serving the true God and being one of his followers. And so this seems like a very rigid list of things to do, but basically it's for your growth. But thus shall you deal with them. You shall break down their altars, and dash in pieces their pillars, and hew down their Asherim, and burn their graven images with fire. For thou art a holy people. Holy means set apart unto Jehovah thy God. So Christians are set apart. Jehovah thy God hath chosen thee to be a people for his own possession, above all peoples that are on the face of the earth. So those people that are God's possession are his followers. And even though the Father wants everyone to be his follower, there are some that aren't. And he longs for them to join the fold, and we should too. Jehovah did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because ye were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all peoples. He's looking for certain people who will set him apart, and then he will set us apart. But because Jehovah loveth you, and because he would keep the oath which he sware unto your fathers, hath Jehovah brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondage from the hand of Pharaoh the king of Egypt. They were in slavery, they were in bondage, and now they're free. Know therefore that Jehovah thy God, he is God, the faithful God, who keepeth the covenant and loving kindness with them that love him, and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. And repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hateth him. He will repay him to his face. So God created the earth and us because he wants fellowship with us. And as we have fellowship with him, we become his. If we decide we don't want fellowship with him, then sooner or later he will repay, he will destroy. Thou shalt therefore keep thy commandments and the statutes and the ordinances which I command thee this day to do them. So Moses wrote out the commandments, the statutes, and the ordinances for people to obey that are the Lord's. And that applied to the people in the desert and applies to people today. And it shall come to pass, because ye hearken to these ordinances and keep them, and keep and do them, that Jehovah thy God will keep with thee the covenant and the loving kindness which he sware unto thy fathers. Okay, there's a colon there. And this is what happens when we keep his commandments. He will love thee, bless thee, multiply thee. He will also bless the fruit of thy body, thy children, and the fruit of thy ground, what we put our hands to, thy grain and thy new wine and thine oil, the increase of thy cattle and the young of thy flock, in the land which he sware unto thy fathers to give thee. Thou shalt be blessed above all peoples. There shall not be male or female barren among you, or among your cattle. And Jehovah will take away from thee all sickness, and none of the evil diseases of Egypt, which thou knowest, will he put upon thee, but will lay them upon all them that hate thee. And this is all because we follow the Lord. And thou shalt consume all the peoples that Jehovah thy God shall deliver unto thee. Thine eye shall not pity them, neither shalt thou serve their gods, for that will be a snare unto thee. So when people come along and they're not following the Lord and they don't believe in his ways, we need to steer them in the right way. But if they choose not to be the Lord's, then we can't pity them, because they're in for hard times, because God is going to try everything he can to get them to see things his way. But it's a choice we all make. If thou shalt say in thy heart, these nations are more than I, how can I dispossess them? Thou shalt not be afraid of them. Thou shalt well remember what Jehovah thy God did unto Pharaoh and unto all Egypt. Sometimes as Christians we feel like we have to do it. It's us. We got to do this. We got to do that. And when we slip away from relying on him, we can get overwhelmed. We can see things and think, well, that's too great. I can't do it. And we need to remember what God has done for us, and his testimony, what he did for his people in Egypt. The great trials which thine eyes saw, and the signs and the wonders, and the mighty hand, and the outstretched arm, whereby Jehovah thy God brought thee out. So shall Jehovah thy God do unto all the peoples of whom thou art afraid. So if God is on our side, we're covered. We just need to commune with him, have a very close relationship with him, and do what he says. Not strike out on our own, not think, but develop that personal relationship, and out of that comes how we act. Moreover, Jehovah thy God will send the hornet among them until they that are left and hide themselves perish from before thee. So those people who don't choose God's way, they're going to have the hornet. They're going to have problems. They're going to have problems they can't fix. And they're going to come up with that they're smart and they can fix this and they can do this. And it just won't work. It won't ever seem to quite work. And the older I get, the more I see that that's the way the world goes. There's always one crisis after another, and we never seem to get to that utopia we think we can achieve on our own. But we can't do any of it without the Lord. Thou shalt not be affrighted at them, for Jehovah thy God is in the midst of thee, a great God and a terrible. And Jehovah thy God will cast out those nations before thee little by little, that thou mayest not consume them at once, lest the beasts of the field increase upon thee. So as we grow in the Lord, we will get victories. We don't get all the victories at once, but as we grow, as we accept his ways, as we live his ways, we will grow, and he will continue to help us to grow. But Jehovah thy God will deliver them up before thee, and will discomfit them with great discomfiture until they will be destroyed. So we're going to make people around us uncomfortable, and they will either choose God's ways or not. It is their choice. We can pray that they will choose his ways, but it is still their choice. And he will deliver their kings into thy hand, and thou shalt make their name to perish from under heaven, and there shall no man be able to stand before thee until thou have destroyed them. And that's a wonderful promise that the Lord is with us. And as small as we are, he's with us. He's going to stand with us. The graven images of their God ye shall burn with fire. Thou shalt not covet the silver or the gold that is on them, nor take it unto thee, lest thou be snared therein, for it is an abomination to Jehovah thy God. As people, we should not profit from their demise. And that's a very common theme in the Bible. And as a Christian, we got to remember that we don't want to be Christians to get rich. We want to be Christians because we believe that God's ways are best. And believing that God's ways are best, we live his ways. We learn his ways. We understand his ways. We have that communion with him constantly. We can, as people, our nature, though, is to set ourselves up as God and decide that we can handle it, and we can do this, and we can do that. And sometimes when we set ourselves up and we see other people's misfortune, we'll take advantage of it. We'll take their silver and gold, because riches, after all, help our day-to-day life, no doubt about it. But they need to be surrendered to the Lord. And our motivation for people needs to be that we help them to learn about Christ. Not that, hey, they're rich, let's get rid of them and take what they got. Because it's definitely a snare for us. And thou shalt not bring an abomination into thy house, and become a devoted thing like unto it. Thou shalt utterly detest it, and thou shalt utterly abhor it, for it is a devoted thing. How many things have we set apart in our lives that are special to us? And when we consider our relationship with the Lord, there should be nothing that we're not willing to part with if he asks. And that could be houses, that could be cars. And yes, even children. We don't like to think about it, but we've got to set him apart. And we've got to freely choose to set him apart. And we've got to freely choose to grow. And we've got to freely choose to do things his way. And he will lead us, and he will explain it, and he will tell us why. And the biggest reason why is because we can slip back into doing things the world's way, and we can end up ignoring him, and then we're like them. We'll think we can solve the problem without him, but we can't. We're in a fallen world. It's been fallen since our fathers did it in the garden.
And it's not going to get better until we do things His way and He comes to set up His kingdom. Father, I just thank You for Your word and the fact that what You said to Your people in the desert still applies to us today. That we need to cling to You, we need to not be fearful, and we need to keep You set apart, Lord, that You'll keep us set apart. And I thank You for it. And I thank You for Your word and all the people that You inspired to keep it so that we could have it today. And help us, Lord, to read Your truth and to understand and grow closer to You. In Jesus' name, amen. And thank you for watching.